Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into a captivating mix of history, language, and genealogy, and it's all spun together from the book of Genesis.
Okay.
You've given us excerpts focusing on the Tower of Babel story,
Right.
and the generations after the flood, starting with Shem.
Yeah.
So get ready to unpack this pivotal chapter.
Yeah. It's fascinating how these stories still resonate even thousands of years later.
Yeah.
They offer a glimpse into humanity's earliest attempts to understand ourselves and our place in the world.
Okay, so picture this. Genesis 11 describes a world where everyone speaks the same language.
Right.
Imagine the possibilities, but also the potential for misunderstandings.
Right.
No lost in translation moments, but maybe a whole lot of talking over each other.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Yeah.
On the one hand, you can imagine the incredible collaboration and progress that could be achieved with a universal language.
Right.
On the other hand, think about the potential for uniformity, for the suppression of unique cultures and perspectives.
It makes you wonder if that yearning for a common tongue is still with us today.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, we have the internet. Emojis are modern attempts to bridge those communication gaps.
Yeah.
But back to the story, then we get to the Tower of Babel, that iconic symbol of, well, reaching for the stars a bit too soon.
Yeah.
What was it about this project that made it so problematic?
Well, I think the motivation is key here.
Yeah.
Genesis 11.4 says, "Let's make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad on the surface of the whole earth."
Okay.
It's less about reaching heaven literally and more about a desire for control, a fear of the unknown. They wanted to solidify their presence, make a statement, even back then.
Right.
It's fascinating how some things never change, right?
Right, that ambition to leave your mark on the world.
Exactly.
But it almost feels like they were trying to become like gods themselves, defying their limits.
Yeah.
And then there's that whole lest we be scattered bit, clinging to security maybe.
Exactly. And that's where the text gets really interesting.
Okay.
God observes not just the tower itself, but their very hearts, their motivations.
Right.
This wasn't about a building code violation, but a fundamental disconnect between human ambition and divine will.
So the confusion of languages, the scattering, it feels almost like a cosmic timeout forcing a reset.
Yeah.
How do you interpret the meaning behind this act? Punishment, a necessary course correction.
It's a question that scholars have debated for centuries.
Right.
On one hand, you can see it as a consequence for their hubris. A scattering is a form of judgment.
Right.
But there's also a certain beauty to how this scattering leads to diversity.
Okay.
Perhaps it was less about punishment and more about pushing humanity towards a different path,
Interesting.
embracing the richness that comes from a multitude of languages, cultures, experiences.
So a forced diversification, in a way,
Yeah.
which looking at the world today might make you go, interesting.
Right.
Now, the text makes a sharp turn after this dramatic story. It's like switching from a blockbuster film to a detailed family tree. We launch into a genealogical account starting with Shem.
Right.
What's the significance of this sudden shift? It feels almost jarring.
It might seem jarring to us,
Yeah.
but we have to remember how important genealogies were in the ancient world.
Okay.
They weren't just about tracing lineage. They were about establishing identity,
Right.
belonging, a sense of continuity in a world that had just been, well, quite literally divided.
So after that scattering, it's like saying, okay, things may be different now. You're spread out, but remember, you still have these roots in common.
Exactly.
It's a reminder of shared ancestry in a time of upheaval.
And this is crucial because remember, the whole story arc here ultimately leads to Abraham.
Okay.
These genealogies aren't just an appendix. They're laying the groundwork for the covenant,
Right.
for chosen people to emerge from this lineage.
It's like those opening scenes of a movie, you know?
Right.
You think they're just setting the mood, but they're packed with subtle clues about what's to come. So let's dive into these generations, starting with Shem.
Okay.
I won't subject you to listing every single name and age, but as we go through this list,
Sure.
what are the key details that we should be paying attention to?
Look for the repeating phrase, sons and daughters. It seems like a small detail,
Okay.
but it emphasizes family, not just patriarchal lines. This was a society rebuilding, and families were the building blocks. It's easy to gloss over those little details, but they offer such valuable insights into the culture and values of that time.
Totally. It's like those details were put there for a reason.
Right.
Now we can't talk about Shem's lineage without pointing out Eber, whose name might ring a bell.
Right.
It's thought to be the root of the word Hebrew.
And there's another piece falling into place as we approach the story is Abraham.
Yeah.
His lineage is traced directly back to Eber,
Okay.
highlighting a continuity that would have been so essential for his descendants to understand.
It's like, hey, you come from a long line of people who've been through a lot, but look, you're still here.
Okay, so we see these family lines stretching across time, but there's this other detail that stands out at the lifespans. They're getting shorter with each generation after the flood.
Right.
What's the deal with that?
It's one of those intriguing mysteries within the text.
Right.
Some scholars see it as a symbolic distancing between humanity and the divine after the flood.
Okay.
It could have returned to a more normal lifespan as we understand it.
So maybe not just a fun fact,
Right.
but a reflection of that shifting relationship between humanity and the divine.
Precisely.
Okay.
And as we approach the end of this genealogical section, we encounter Terah, father of Abram, who will later be known as Abraham.
Okay.
This is where the story really starts to gain momentum.
This is where I start grabbing my metaphorical popcorn.
Yeah.
Because we're shifting from this wide-angle lens on humanity to a close-up on one family's journey.
Right.
Why is Terah's journey westward so significant? Well, it marks the beginning of God's call to Abram.
Okay.
This is the start of a chain reaction that will reshape history.
Wow.
Imagine the implications. We're talking about the birth of the Israelite people, a legacy that echoes through Christianity and Islam.
Right.
This journey is a major turning point, not just for Abram, but for the entire trajectory of monotheistic religions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about a lot riding on one family road trip.
Yeah.
So we've got Terah, his son Abram, grandson Lot, and daughter-in-law Sarai, all packing up and heading to Canaan from Ur.
Right.
What prompted this massive move?
Right.
Was it a sudden divine message or a more gradual decision?
It's interesting. The text remains quite open-ended about their motivation.
Okay.
It simply states they went to Canaan but stopped in Haran along the way.
Huh.
This lack of detail has led to various interpretations over the centuries.
Okay.
Were they seeking better land, escaping conflict, or perhaps already following some divine nudge they couldn't quite explain?
It's like they were following a breadcrumb trail, with the full picture still to be revealed.
Yeah.
But even without all the answers, you have to acknowledge this journey is monumental.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the first step in a journey of faith, a testament to the idea of answering a call, even when the destination is unclear.
And then there's Sarai. And a detail we can't overlook.
Right.
She's described as barren,
Yeah.
unable to have children.
Right.
What seems like a personal tragedy actually sets the stage for something extraordinary.
You've hit on a crucial point.
Yeah.
Sarai's infertility isn't just a personal struggle. It's a theological conundrum.
Okay.
How can God promise Abram descendants, a whole nation, if his wife can't bear children?
Right.
It raises questions about faith, doubt, and the very nature of divine intervention.
Right. It's this impossible situation.
It is.
It's like the text is deliberately introducing this tension to make you wonder how it's all going to play out. It's like the story is saying, buckle up because things are about to get interesting. And, it makes you think, how often in life do those impossible situations, those moments of doubt, become the catalyst for something extraordinary?
It's a powerful parallel, isn't it?
Right.
We see it time and again throughout history. Those who dared to believe in the impossible, who confronted challenges head-on, often end up shaping the world in ways they could never have imagined.
Okay, so we've covered some serious ground here, from a tower that scraped the sky to family trees with more branches than a cedar forest.
It's a lot.
Let's bring it all together.
Okay.
We started with the Tower of Babel, a symbol of ambition and its pitfalls.
Right.
Then we dove into Shem's lineage, tracing those intricate family lines, watching lifespans shift and key figures emerge.
Yeah.
What's the overarching message here? How do these stories paint a picture of the world as Genesis understood it?
It's a world in flux, still finding its footing after the flood,
Right.
yet driven by this relentless energy to rebuild, to connect, to find meaning.
Yeah.
The Tower of Babel shows us the dangers of unchecked ambition, the yearning for control that can ultimately lead to chaos.
Right.
But then through the genealogies, we see a different kind of ambition.
Okay.
Striving to maintain connection,
Right.
to remember shared roots, even as humanity spreads out across the globe.
And then enters Terah and his family, setting off on this journey west, answering a call they don't fully understand, carrying this impossible promise. It's like Genesis is telling us that even in a world still reeling from catastrophe.
Yeah.
Even when faced with personal struggles and uncertainty, there's this persistent thread of hope, of new beginnings.
Exactly. And that's what makes this section of Genesis so compelling. It's not just an account of what was, but a glimpse into what will be.
Right.
It lays the groundwork for the covenant, for the birth of a nation, for a story that continues to unfold even today.
So from a tower that aimed for the heavens to the intimate details of family lines, we've really delved into a pivotal period in human history, at least according to the book of Genesis.
Yeah.
What sticks with you from this deep dive? What questions are still swirling around in your head? Keep those thoughts simmering, and until next time, keep diving